Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to our channel. Nigerians have been pushing really hard. A whole lot of those who have looked on and looked at the way Nigeria is going and saying, "Look, this country may likely not come out of this. Let's quickly forge out of this ship. Let's move out of this ship before it finally capsizes." And I'm talking about the agitators for both Biafra and Oduduwa Republic. Insecurity has become the order of the day. Well, while some of them have made giant strides, they've been able to contact the UN. They've been able to put their name in UNPO, and all that. Well, a strong Northerner is saying, a politician is saying that it's not gonna happen. The breakup definitely will never happen, and this is the reason why he gave some strong pertinent reasons why it can happen, and he went very political, international politics actually, and he made mention of countries that needs to endorse, or else that we're just joking in the south. But before we go to the news proper, we would like you to subscribe to our channel if you've not done so already. By clicking on the red subscribe button beside it, you will see a bell notification icon. Please go ahead, click on it to get notified as soon as we update our channel on YouTube. There have never been a time that the agitations for Nigeria's breakup has been so increasingly more pronounced than now. For over a decade, our country has been fighting tooth and nail to end insurgency in the north, especially in the northeast. Adding to it is the menace of banditry, kidnapping, UGM, killer headsmen that have in recent times become new normal across all regions in the country. Worried by this development, the calls for secession of the country have gradually been gaining grounds in the southeast and southwest, with Sunday Igboho and Nnamdi Kanu leading the crusade respectively. To these agitators and the leaders, Nigeria is not working. They summarily said the country is a failed state, hence they are seeking for independent nations of theirs. This has further necessitated the trending hashtag Biafra Nation Now and Oduduwa Nation Now. But despite the call for separation of the country, we still have some Nigerians who believe so much that Nigeria will work again if sincere steps are taken. Among those who show high level of optimism that Nigeria can be great again is Adamu Garba, convincingly airing his opinion on why Nigeria cannot secede. He said that the case of USSR was the worst situation of the Big Five, while Europe and Britain had pretty lost connection that could easily be entangled by the Britons. Once you don't have approval of at least one of the Big Five at the United Nations to secede, you can only be deceiving your gullible audience. He opined that separation of any country in the world would only be a joke once at least one of those Big Five nations that make up the United Nations does not show interest in it. The Big Five, otherwise known as the Permanent Five or the P5, that's the members of the United Nations, include the five sovereign states with whom the United Nations Charter of 1945 gave a permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council. These five states are the United States, that's USA, the United Kingdom, that's UK, Russia, France, and China. Truth be told, not at least one of these Big Five have shown interest in Nigeria's disintegration or officially declaring the support for a Biafra nation or a Yoruba nation. He therefore called on Nigerians to divert their energy towards reconfiguring the country rather than calling for control to break, or rather calling for the country rather to break. By reconfiguration, Garba simply means restructuring the country. For those of you who make fun of trending hashtag Biafra Nation Now or hashtag Yoruba Nation Now, know that Nigeria cannot be reconfigured, but Nigeria can only be reconfigured but can never break up. That word, never say never, in the context of this word, you don't say never. Never say never. Anything can change. But let's continue. You should rather put more effort in thinking of the best reconfiguration program for Nigeria than some few thousand retweets, he advised. But there's something I want to quickly pick out from what he said. He said Nigeria can never break up. I've learned in my life never to use the word never. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. They can wake up one day, the so-called big five he mentioned can just wake up one day that this agitation is getting too much. The number of killings every day in Nigeria is getting out of hand. And if they look at it and they say the ruling party or the presidency seem to be overwhelmed, and they listen to the cry of these agitators, find out that they're actually crying out for self-help, they're crying out for life, self defense, rights to life. They could just look into it. That if they have what it takes, well, why not? What does it take for the big five to meet? What does it take for one of them to endorse it? Yes, they may say this it has a lot to do with international politics, but then life, if except they didn't sign a charter, United Nations charter, of which of some of these rights are embedded in it. Whether you play politics or not, one thing is certain: if the insecurity continues at the rate things are going, if there's no physical as in actions being taken critically, then we have a situation in our hands, just a matter of time. So I've learned never to use the word never say never. But let's hear what Nigerians are saying concerning this. Because Nigerians, of course, have taken to the social media, a whole lot of them are talking about the matter. This one here says Northerners depend on South, that is why they are against separation. If separation is approved, Northern Nigeria will be the poorest country in the world till the world end. They will be the first in the poorest country forever. But let me just quickly say this over what this young man said. The North have rich arable land, so they have agriculture thrives very strongly there. The only challenge is that it has been when it comes to insecurity, it has finally finished that place. The level of insecurity, in fact, the insecurity began from the north. That's the challenge. So if they can actually, if the word imperative is if there's any breakup at all, if there will be, okay, the north, if the first thing they should tackle, they should take time to tackle is insecurity. Once they can, tackle insecurity, and start sending their amajiris to school. Knowledge is light. Send them to school. You could just see improvements that you really don't also forget the improvement that you don't believe. Don't also forget they also have gold and some mineral resources, so and natural resources as well. So you don't write them off just for them to look inwards, and with the right leaders here and there, enough can just come up. Just the case of insecurity. This one here say, do you know that you may be overrating the south while underrating the north? You may be surprised. That's exactly what I just said. The south here, we have so much oil. We are so dependent on oil. We have other resources, but we have not looked, except for one or two persons and one or two people who have decided to decide to become independent in their ways. The south also have their own issues to tackle with. Corruption is everywhere. So I think in this case, let's see how it plays out eventually, because the truth of the matter is Nigerians are actually coming out for Adamu, saying that never say never. Some things can actually give. If things continue, that it's just a matter of time. Let's put in a comment section, please. What's your take on this? Do have a nice time.